There's a brand new tank coming into World of Tanks console this week with the update news, and that's exactly what we got today for you guys. Of course, this one is the Nemesis main battle tank, and you might think, given that it's called a main battle tank, that this one would be in Cold War. You'd be wrong. This one is a tier 10 World War II vehicle that is from the British line, for those of you wondering, and it is a British Heavium, which is a British medium/heavy hybrid vehicle, hence the Heavium, and essentially what it features is hold down gameplay according to Wargaming, but as always, when it comes to Wargaming's idea of armor, it's not always entirely accurate. But this one has essentially got a pretty well-angled frontal armor on its turret. However, the problem is that it has a giant cupola, which you can see right there. And with a giant cupola like this, it is quite considerable. And so you're going to get penned pretty much every single time through the front of the turret by them just hitting the cupola. So if you see this tank, that is where you want to aim. The upper hull armor looks pretty well angled, so you're probably going to be able to bounce when it comes to long ranges, potentially when you're angling in this sort of orientation. However, it does have a lower plate that is probably pretty garbage, probably around 170 millimeters thick, and so coming up against anything above tier 8, will basically pen you every single one of the days. So yeah, not looking too good in the armor department. However, it does feature a 50 kilometers an hour top speed with a 16 power to weight ratio, power to weight being the ratio of its horsepower to its tonnage, and it's a pretty okay power to weight ratio, but it's on the lower side for a faster medium. And so yeah, I mean, it's not exceptional, but it's definitely going to be able to move around the map, and it's probably similar sort of story to something like the Centurion Action X, whereby it has a decent top speed, but it isn't the fastest, and it's also quite chunky as well. So you're going to find that you're going to get hit quite a lot. It's much bigger than a lot of vehicles, and we'll do a full tank review tomorrow when it does actually drop onto the live server, which is the 18th of June. So this will come in on the 18th of June. Of course, it is a premium vehicle, which is super annoying, and it seems like we haven't seen very many tier 10 tanks that have actually introduced into the current nations that we've already got in the game in a long time, unless they introduce a new tech tree line, things like the Japanese TDs. So it'd be nice to see some extra tier 10s being added to lines that we've already got, or extra vehicles being added to the actual tech tree itself. But the Nemesis looks pretty good in terms of its paper statistics. It has 420 damage with 254 pen and 310 pen on its APCR rounds. So it gets both AP and APCR, no heat unfortunately, but 310 pen, pretty okay. It's going to be able to deal with most things. 90 HE pen makes it up there with some of the better ones, but it doesn't get the British Hesh, and so you're going to find that you're not able to pen a huge lot. But the rounds of the HE do fire quite fast, so they were 1,015 meters a second, which is very fast for a HE round, and it does 530 damage. So it's definitely worth taking 3 or 4 of these rounds when it comes to playing this vehicle. The vehicle also has 10 degrees of gun depression, making that turret actually considerably better and probably quite good at being able to go hold down. But of course you still have that cupola, and depending on how big the profile when you actually see it in game will depend on whether you can still hit that cupola even when it is using the 10 degrees of gun depression. And because this tank is quite big, you may even be able to just hit the lower plate if it tries to poke over a ridgeline, which might not be so good. And of course, when you're aiming up into the bottom half of the mantlet, you may be able to pen this area as well, and potentially the top of the mantlet as well could be a weak point because it doesn't look all too great. However, it's probably unlikely that that is going to happen in the long term. So your cupola is probably the best bet. Of course, then you've got a DPM of 2,500, which is okay, but it's not really up there with some of the other mediums at tier 10. So you're probably looking at around about 3,200 DPM in total when you consider that this vehicle can have gun rammer and that sort of thing. So it's okay. Its accuracy is also not great, 0.38, which when you reduce it down to all of the buffs and stuff like that, you could probably get it down to 0.3, but it still isn't crazy. So using vertical stabilizers and using your things like your crew skills, like steady aim, that sort of thing, definitely going to be needed on this tank in order to make it work 100%. Reload time 9.8 seconds, quite a long one. So is it worth getting the extra 20 damage with this vehicle over some of the other counterparts like the M48A5 pattern? Is it worth it? I don't know. And when you consider that there's already a lot of vehicles similar to this, are you going to want to pay for this vehicle and actually pick it up in the game? I think it's going to be not really, because there are a lot of other tanks that probably do it better than this one, and although it is quite novel and unique and has 10 degrees of gun depression with 420, it's not that special. And when you consider how much Wargaming are intending to sell this vehicle for, it probably puts you off even more. The Ultimate Bundle at a 35% discount costs you only 20,750 gold, which is very cheap when you consider that that's about £60. Yeah, I would definitely be buying this vehicle. Don't buy this for 20,000 gold. That is unbelievable. I mean, even if it is a novel and unique vehicle that could be kind of cool, in my opinion, I wouldn't really go for it. That is what I would suggest to people that I know and you guys. It's just very expensive for a vehicle that isn't really got that much different to what we already see in the game. But of course, if you're after a novel and unique tank that is somewhat different to some of the other British mediums, then I could potentially say, well, yeah, go for it. But for me, I definitely won't be purchasing this vehicle. It's crazy expensive and also very, very kind of mediocre. I don't think it's going to be incredible. And so although you can have mediocre tanks that are very fun, this one probably isn't going to be that much fun. So hopefully the armor works with this one if it's going to be somewhat decent and actually worth it for the people that do decide to pick this one up. But from what I can see, it's probably not going to be that great. Anyway, of course, that's the Ultimate Bundle. So there are cheaper ways of buying this vehicle, but they're not considerably cheaper, because the Loaded Bundle is 19,500 gold. So you save about 1,250 gold for going for the lower one, which I mean is worth it, because the Ultimate is basically just some XP boosters that you already get with the Loaded one, and then some equipment that is going to cost you silver. But most of the stuff that you get with a lot of these vehicles, you probably wouldn't use. Albeit this one, not actually terrible. Advanced loader, gun stabilizer, ventilation. I might actually use those on this tank. So I guess at least they're getting wise to using equipment that is actually worth it if you were to purchase it. But it's still very expensive. And I definitely wouldn't pay 1,250 gold for about 1.6 million silver worth of equipment. And of course, if you just have that silver anyway, you could just spend it on whatever equipment that you desire, not what Wargaming picks, and you're not paying money for it. The British Tier 10 is then with the 7 days of premium and the Commander and Vehicle XP boosters for the Loaded Bundle, 19,500 gold, so probably in the region of about £55, something like that. And then the base version, yay! Whoa, what a great price, 18,250 gold, costing you probably in the region of about £50 to be able to pick this one up. Given that you can buy a AAA title for about £60 when it's first released when it's a first release, would I recommend purchasing a Tier 10 British heavy tank / medium hybrid vehicle for £50? No, I wouldn't. I would never suggest that, because £50 on one tank in one game that is a free game that you can play vehicles that are very similar to it, no, I would never ever recommend paying £50 for it. If you're a millionaire, go ahead. If you're a whale, go ahead. If this is the only game you ever play and you really want this vehicle, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. But in terms of people that are wondering, I've only got a little bit of money to spend this month and I'm thinking maybe I'll get the Nemesis, maybe this could be a tank that is kind of worth getting, I would save your money and spend it on better things than a Nemesis. And of course, you can pick up a lot of other vehicles at Tier 8 that are much better, probably tier for tier, and also are more fun for a cheaper price. If you are going to spend money on this game, that is kind of what it's going for. But it seems like Wargaming are upping the prices once again of all of these vehicles that they're releasing at the moment, and as well as also reducing the price of the sales that we've been seeing on some of the vehicles that are coming out now. And that kind of sucks. But that isn't the only thing this week. There are some Commander's War Chests that are available from the 18th of June to the 20th of August, so you've got quite a while to pick these up. One thing to note about Commander's War Chests is they, as the name implies, gives you commanders, but I believe that there may be a chance of getting premium tanks, although this states there probably isn't a chance. But anyway, you can get some XP boosters, which are guaranteed in every single one, as well as actual commanders, but the commanders themselves are pretty rare-ish. 85% to get a commander, considering it's a commander's war chest. They should probably just give you a commander's war chest to begin with, or a commander in the war chest. Even if it is just a 2D one, I don't know why they went for 85%. And then, of course, 3D hero, 3D premiums and hero commanders are 10% and 5%, kind of respectively. So yeah, very low percentage of those two. And in terms of how much these actually cost, I believe they're probably in the region of about 70p per box, I think. Off the top of my head, I think they're only, somewhere in that sort of region. They could be £1 per box, £1.60. I'm not entirely sure, but of course you'll find that out. Anything over a quid for one of these, if you're not particularly fussed on getting commanders, I would not spend it on this. But it is there and stuff like that. So they have introduced some new commanders that are featured as part of kind of the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings, and I think the commanders are cool. I think if you're going to spend some money, it's, if you're willing to accept that they are pretty much just consumable items, albeit there are some 3D commanders that you'll get in the game as well. They're kind of cool. They're historical figures that kind of actually represent people in the real world, which is always good. So you can pick those up. But there are 3D commanders as well. So yeah, I mean, it's up to you whether you want to purchase them. I don't really ever go for Commander's War Chest because I don't need another 50 commanders added to my already 300 commanders that I've already got unassigned. So yeah, that's up to you whether you want them. But I thought I'd cover it anyway. And then we're on to kind of the update news for this week on the game, which comes with some sales and various different other bits as well that I'll cover. And the first one is that there are going to be some weekly sales, and these come in the form of the T-78, the Canonian Jagdpanzer, the T-72M1, and the M50 Ontos. In terms of these ones that are actually decent, Canonian Jagdpanzer is kind of fun one. The T-78 I've not really played, and it's a tier 6 that kind of is probably just worse than the Hellcat, so I'd rather just play the free version. The M50 Ontos is a bag of fun, but it's probably been nerfed quite heavily considering that the weight limits have changed in Cold War, so this thing is going to get rammed for a ton of damage, so it's probably not as fun to play anymore, and it wasn't actually very good anyway. It just has missile tubes that are kind of fun to play with, but yeah, it's probably annoying to actually play now because you'll just get YOLO'd by everyone trying to ram you. So yeah, there's that. Super Savers, we have a discount on the T-34, the Tiger II, and the Kampfpanzer 07RH. These are actually at a 50% discount. They've changed it from previously in last week where you only got a discount on the King Tiger. This one is actually where you can pick up essentially some skins, I believe, for these tanks. So yeah, I mean, 50% discount to get some skins. You play the game, you need 50k XP to unlock all of them, 25k to get the T-34 and the Tiger II, as well as 10k XP for the T-34. So, I mean, if you're after skins and you're wanting stuff like this, then it could be a potential option for you to go for. And I like the skins. I think they're a better way to monetize a game like this than to introduce broken premium tanks. And I'd much rather see more skins added to the game on various different vehicles that, you can pay 2,000 gold, which is about £7 or something like that, to kind of kit out the tank that you like with a new style. I think that's a better way of monetizing than, let's introduce another Turan or a 477A Malo, that sort of thing. So I think it's decent. Then, of course, we've got some other skins. They've got an ambush skin for the M50 Ontos and a burnt steel for the T-72M1, which is also available. The Nemesis, obviously, that's coming out. And then the British mediums are on track. So this is all of the British mediums, including things like the FE4202, the Centurion Action X, these sorts of vehicles, they're going to be on track, and of course all of the tanks leading up to them. There'll be 25% XP every single time you play any vehicle leading up to those vehicles, so just a 25% XP boost if you're going towards it, as well as a discount on all of the tanks between tiers 3 and tiers 6 will be 50% off, and then 30% off the Comet to the FV4202 and the Centurion Action X. So not bad, but you know, it is there if you're interested in the British mediums. I highly recommend it. They're very, very fun vehicles that have some cool little differences between the two tier 10s, one with better armor in the FV4202 and one with the Hesh rounds of the FV4202, and then the other bit more boxy but more consistent, the Centurion Action X. So yeah, I thought they were cool. But that is it for the update news. I thought I'd cover everything for this week, and hopefully you've enjoyed. It's been a while since I've uploaded, and I apologize. I've just been taking a bit of a break to kind of regenerate and reinvigorate myself to play the game and also make the content that you guys probably want to see, rather than just me hating having to play and that sort of stuff, which seemed to be happening over probably the last month. So I took some time off. I want to regenerate and just be able to make the content that is good and showcases what the game is actually about without all of the BS stuff that goes on in the background that we pretty much all know about anyway. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like it if you did enjoy, and I will see you in the next video coming soon tomorrow on the new vehicle. Goodbye.